and I'll give you the key. It's easy. Just keep on hopping, keep on rocking, and don't start stopping. It's everything you need just to walk the scene. And if you wanna make it better, you give it to me. I'll grease it. I believe for you. You wouldn't believe what I see in you. So don't stop. Don't let the dream drop hop. Hold up and make it lovely, make it real, and make it yours. Don't stop.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. I have had several guests lined up for the podcast lately that have had to last minute reschedule for some reason or another, and that has left me with no guests as of late. So I do apologize for the large gap in between episodes. But I've had some things that are on my mind, so that prompted me today to take the time during one of these cancellations to just climb on here and talk about some of my thought processes lately and some of the things that I am seeing. So I think, as you know, if you're a listener of this podcast, you have definitely heard me talk about the mental portion of things. And I think this is huge for so many reasons. It's the foundation of it all, really. I mean, it comes before nutrition, it comes before fitness, it comes before everything. It is the mental place, right? And no matter what we want to do or think we should do, if our mental game is not aligned with that, we are going to struggle. So the path that we are going down mentally is going to manifest, I can't talk, in the path that we are going down physically. And in many cases, what I've seen lately is our mind automatically puts us where it is the safest. So anything that gets us outside of our comfort zone is deemed dangerous, and our body actually tries to overcome that with a safety mechanism. So in exercise, this is when you get to that point where you're starting to huff and puff and your body is having a harder time removing lactic acid and things get a little more challenging, right? And at that point, our brain starts reeling. Our brain is like, whoa, we can't do this, or you better slow down, or I don't know how long I can do this, or how much more time do I have on the treadmill, or how many more reps do I have? You start wondering like when's the out here? When can I stop, right? Well, that's our brain keeping us in a safe place because it knows if we push beyond our limits, we are potentially in danger, right? So it's kind of that warning zone or the rev limiter on your car telling you, hey, you might be getting close to having a problem here, when in fact you're not, right? So many people tap out at only 60%. That's a pretty low number, guys. That means you have 40% in the tank to push a little bit harder. And I'm sure you, as well as I, have experienced this, where you are in the middle of something and you start talking to yourself. You're like, you come up with an excuse. Well, maybe I'm a little short on time. I could cut this short. Or, I have a little twinge in my arm. Maybe I should stop because I might get hurt. You know, like we all fight this inner dialogue that tells us we should stop. Same thing with food. We start getting to this place where we're uncomfortable and we're starting to burn fat and maybe getting a little bit hungry, which happens when you go into a diet phase. So if you are properly dieting and you are trying to burn fat, there are going to be moments where you are hungry. There is no way around that, okay? But when you start to get hungry, what does your body do? It wants more food. You start feeling those hunger signals. Then your brain chemistry starts going. Well, what does your brain chemistry do? Your brain chemistry says, I better make an excuse as to why I should eat right now, especially if you've been telling it you're dieting. So you're like, we're dieting right now. This is the Last Supper. You eat your last meal on Monday, you get to Friday, and you've cut your calories far beyond where they should be cut. So now you are extremely hungry. And next thing you know, you're like, well, I was good on my diet all week, so I'm going to just have an extra cheat meal today because I definitely cut enough calories during the week to where I can afford to have a free meal. I did a good job. Like, you start making these excuses for yourself. So where I'm going with this is our mind dictates so much, and it's constantly trying to keep us safe. And sometimes the goals and aspirations and dreams that we have don't come from a place of safety. They require taking risks. When I quit my job in 2020, it was a huge risk. It was scary, and lots of everything and little red flags were going off in my mind telling me that I shouldn't do it, right? It was a big goal. And it was very hard to pull the trigger on that. And there are a lot of things. This may not be dieting, it may not be exercise, it may not be career. It could be even saying no to someone or setting a boundary. We are conditioned to tap out anytime things become uncomfortable. And today's society is dictating that furthermore. They're giving us all these reasons why we should tap out. It's a trauma response. Well, because of my childhood trauma, I can't do this. And I find this with like nutrition clients too. They've dieted so long before they get to me that they now literally have like they're gun shy about things because they say they've tried everything and haven't gotten anywhere, when in fact many of the cases these people did try for a period of time, but they also had those meals coming in where they were like, oh well, I can have a little extra on the weekend because I was good all week, like it wasn't a long-term thing, I guess is where I'm going with this. So some people do try and they don't get anywhere, but how long did they try before it started getting difficult and they reverted back to their old habits? So I'm just going to give you an example here. I'm pretty forthcoming with a lot of the things that are going on in my life, and I have had a lot of very difficult things happening after my powerlifting meet. So I have very, very close friend right now that is in the hospital on life support, and I've been spending some time down there. Um, I had a major change in my coaching situation, which was heartbreaking after my powerlifting meet. And I didn't tell a lot of people about it because I didn't think it needed to be public knowledge necessarily, but um, it was not my decision, and it was very shocking to me. And it was very disappointing because I thought the coach that I had, him and I would be going to the top together, and it felt like I kind of went through a breakup. When you get as close as you do with a coach, somebody that knows how you think and how you function and helps you perform at your best, and then they break up with you, it can be pretty difficult. So I won't get into details in that, but I am working with a new coach, and it has been very hard to figure each other out. He has a complete different training style. Not that it's wrong, it's just different. It's something I'm not used to. He's learning me, I'm learning him. It has been very difficult, especially difficult in a time of what I would consider to be pressure, because I did fall short barely of achieving my goals at the meet that I just did 8 weeks ago. I was aiming for a certain number and I came up just a little shy of that. And I needed that number to qualify for a big meet that I had plans to go to in 2025. So my main goal was to qualify for that and take a 1-year growing season so that I would be unstoppable by 2025. Well, I did not reach that goal. And then to stack on top of it, I had a coaching situation change, and now I have to find another meet in order to go get that qualifying number. Well, I hired a new coach and we are getting to know each other. And because of that, my strength is not great right now. And I'm trying to stick with different training modalities, and many of them I do not like. Does that mean they're wrong? No, it just means I don't like them. They are hard. It is a different way of thinking. It is a challenging form of training, and it's much different than anything I've ever done before. So it's already outside of my comfort zone. So here I'm at the gym. I've been having a very hard time going and working out because it's doing stuff that I don't really like to do. This girl right here loves doing heavy triples, heavy singles, 5x5s, and I like to do barbell work. I like to do squats. I like to bench. I like to deadlift. I like to do overhead presses. I like to do log presses. I like to do dumbbell presses, stuff like that. I don't like doing some of the accessories I am currently doing, and they are very high volume. And because of the extra stress in my life and the high volume, and not eating the way I normally do, I've also lost between 20 and 25 pounds. It fluctuates. Not a good feeling for me. I do not like being this lean, and I don't not like being this small. And the other thing is that highly impacts my strength. So when I would normally be training in the 400s, I'm training in the 300s right now, which is also really hard on my mental state because I'm like, oh, how am I going to go from being crappier than I was when I ended my meet to hitting numbers bigger than I did when I just did a meet? Like, it's hard. It's a mental struggle. Okay. So, haven't been looking forward to training. I've been in kind of a funk. And then the brain turns on and it's like, you should just quit. You wouldn't have to deal with this anymore. Like you would have so much more time to do other things. You wouldn't have to watch your nutrition so much. Because it's hard and there's an unknown, my brain is coming up with every excuse in the book as to why I should just quit powerlifting. Would I do that? No, I would be freaking miserable. It's where my passion is, right? But then I get into the workouts. And so I'm doing these barbell reverse lunges and they suck. Like they suck massive ass. I already don't perform well in some of these movements due to function because of reconstructive hip surgery and stuff like that. And I am like, this sucks so bad. I can like hardly get through a set and I'm like dying. Same with some of these other movements we're doing. They are awful. They are not the standard. And they are movements I would typically avoid if I was doing my own training. Now, as I'm sitting there and I'm like, this sucks and I hate this and why am I doing this? I had to have a little pep talk with myself where the devil is on one side of the shoulder and the angel's on the other side, where it's like, Connie, really? What are you doing? Doing the hard stuff is where the magic happens. And although this might seem monotonous now and it might suck and your numbers might be much smaller than they are, all of this little stuff is going to build and it's going to make you better. So there is this place where you have to get into the correct mindset. And so rather than sitting there thinking, woe is me, what am I doing? I hate this. I had to flip the narrative like, okay, this freaking sucks. All right. But this is what's going to get me to where I want to go. And it's going to get me to the top, right? Avoiding the things that are hard is not going to get me to the top. But these hard things right here, these are what's going to get me there and get me to my long-term goal. So I had to have that discussion with myself. And so when my coach reaches out to me and he's like, hey, how's it going? Instead of being like, oh, those freaking reverse hypers, they suck really bad. I want to be like, yeah, those reverse hypers, they are challenging, but I can see that that's a weak spot of mine. It's an entirely different narrative. So, contrary to what you guys think and what you see on social media, those people out there aren't perfect, right? Those people out there have struggles of their own, but many of them are choosing to shut down those struggles and turn them into strengths. And that's what we need to learn. And I actually went on a little rant on Instagram the other day because I have so many people I work with, and I have people that I work with and they're like, oh, I'm too old, my body hurts, I can't do this, I can't do that. And then I have clients that are in their 60s and 70s and they move forward. They might have some aches and pains, but they're like, I want to deadlift today. And they will go out and they will pull massive deadlift PRs. I mean, I've got a guy right now that's in his late 60s and he's hitting 175 for 10 reps on deadlift. Like, that's huge. Why? Because he refuses to accept the fact that he's old and he wants to age with grace and he wants to be able to go out and kick ass up until he's really old. And so he's doing all the things and he's not going to let age stop him. To him, age is just a number. He doesn't care. And then you've got people that the minute they turn 40 or 50, they're like, the world is falling apart. I better go buy Coke bottle glasses. I better let my beard turn gray because it's over for me, right? Might as well roll over and just quit. And I see these two different spectrums of mentalities, and I see that we are manifesting our own destiny. And I see this with other labels as well, right? I see this when people have a medical diagnosis. So I will give an example. I've had people that have Hashimoto's like I do. People don't realize my Hashimoto's is not under control. As much as I'd like to say that it is not. I manage it as good as I can. However, the one true passion I have in my life is performing and going to the gym. And Hashimoto's doesn't like to do that to the level that I like to do that. Now, if you listen to Stan Efferding, he has a talk just about this. If you want to be competitive at anything, you're not going to be healthy. Well, that's where I'm at, and I accept that. And so in that case, I do everything that I can to take good care of my body in every other way, because I know that my health is impacted by the level of training that I do. So I try to keep my bucket as empty as possible and not overflowing. So I don't drink alcohol. I eat really, really clean. I try to manage stress. I try to do all of the low hanging fruit so that I have room to throw training into my bucket without it overflowing. Now, with that being said, my autoimmune is pretty out of control right now, and it typically is unless I back off my training. Now, where I'm trying to get used to another coach, it's definitely a hard balance right now. And with that being said, my numbers are pretty bad. But you will see people that get a label for Hashimoto's and they might barely have it. Like they barely have antibodies, but they come to you and they're like, I can't do anything because my Hashimoto's. And it literally manifested from a label and a diagnosis. And all of a sudden that switch flipped into their brain. And that was all of a sudden the reason that person couldn't lose weight. That's all of a sudden why they can't go out and do the things that they want. It all of a sudden becomes something that they embrace. So don't embrace your labels. That's another flaw in mindset, right? If somebody tells you you can't lose weight or you think you can't lose weight, you're not going to lose weight. If somebody says you have a disease and it's the reason you should be tired and fatigued and have joint pain and all these things, and you're embracing that, guess what? That shit's going to manifest because that's what our brain does. So rather than developing the mentality of claiming that label and taking it on and living it, how about you be the anomaly? How about you prove that label wrong? Nah, that ain't going to be me that's holding back. Not at all. I had to do that when I had my shoulder injury. Nope, I'm going to overcome this. I'm going to get back on the platform. I'm going to throw down epic numbers. Doesn't matter, right? I did not embrace the injury. I went out and I continued to kick ass. And you have to do that. And you see this repeated over and over in high achievers. Somebody tells them they can't do something, they go and do it. They prove people wrong. Prove your body wrong. Prove your negative mindset wrong. Because that negative mindset and that label, those things are just holding you back from reaching your true potential. Another place I see this is menopause. I see so many women, they come to me and they're like, well, since I started menopause, I can't lose weight. Did it happen when you started menopause? Or was it already happening? And now all of the things that you have done leading up to this point are now manifesting. They just so happen to be manifesting as you're coming into menopause, but they are all coming to a head at the same point. May not be menopause's fault. And I see this a lot with menopause cases because people are already sick. They already have metabolic syndrome. They're already overweight, but then they start menopause and they're like, well, I can't lose weight because it's menopause. Sorry. Again, you are embracing a label. Your mindset has a lot to do with things. There are things you can do to make menopause better so that you're not that person that is having trouble or struggles during menopause. There are things that you can do during menopause that help with your hormonal balance, that help with your brain chemicals, right? You don't need to embrace that. Go out and prove them wrong. Don't be that person. Also, if you haven't come to that point yet and you're a younger person and you're listening to this podcast, don't wait to start taking care of your body. Many of these people do this. Like, I literally had a man who had diabetes come to me and he's like, well, I don't understand how this could all of a sudden happen to me. The truth is, it didn't all of a sudden happen. It has been happening over time. Every time that you said, well, I'm fine, it doesn't seem to bother me, and you continued doing those habits over and over again, they began to manifest. They were that drop in the bucket every single day from the leaky faucet until one day the bucket runs over. When the bucket runs over, guess what? You now have a problem. So all of these things that you think aren't impacting you eventually will, or more than likely will. And at that time, it happens to be manifesting during menopause, or it happens to become diabetes. Well, guess what? Could have been prevented. It didn't just happen now. It happened over time. So keep that in mind. Some of these things that are manifesting. One of my menopause ladies, she's a lady that is like, oh, gluten doesn't bother me. Okay, well, you might think gluten doesn't bother you, but why are you all of a sudden having all of these symptoms that you are blaming on menopause? May not be menopause. So we are what we think. Just kind of like what we are, what we eat. Our nutrition is not just the stuff we eat. It's the things around us. It's the people around us. It's social media. It is our thought patterns. Prove your thoughts wrong. They are going to immediately go to the safe place. And the safe place is not necessarily the healthy place. Hope you guys found some gems in this, things that could help you on your health and fitness journey. I just wanted to share a little bit of my own because I don't have perfect everything, contrary to what people think. I have to keep my mental thoughts in check. And people will come to me and they'll be like, I'm really depressed, and they will embrace that. Well, we all have moments where we are down. We actually feel feelings for a reason. It's the people that spiral on it and they're like, I'm depressed, so I just can't do anything. It's all those labels, guys. You have control and power over your mindset, and you can sit and let yourself spiral in any direction over any thought, or you can choose to flip the narrative. If you think you're depressed, why? Is it legitimate? Do you have a legitimate reason? Maybe you also need to look at your hormones. Maybe that's a huge piece of it. Maybe you need to eat better because your serotonin and your dopamine and everything's all screwy because your nutrition sucks. Maybe you're on the internet too much and it's affecting your mental health. Like, there are a lot of contributors outside of just randomly being depressed. That's not a huge thing. You also can't sit and get stuck in these feelings. Get yourself out. Go do something that you enjoy. Don't sit there and be like, I'm depressed, so I don't feel like doing this. No, go out and do it anyway. Exercise is proven to help with depression. So get your ass off the couch. Sunny weather's coming. Get out there, get hiking, go for a walk, do things that are good for your body, including thinking healthy thoughts. All right, signing off.